Cool. Thank you so much. Right. So let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Nishchay Jain. As you can see, I have almost 5 years of experience into software development, primarily with JavaScript based frameworks and libraries. So I'm currently working as a senior software engineer in a US based organization. I've been a part of startups like ScienceE. I've been a part of EPAM systems. I am also an AWS certified developer associate. I'm also certified in Salesforce as well. So today I'll be just guiding you a bit on what exactly should be an ideal roadmap to become a front-end developer. How do you efficiently decide which career path you want to move towards in the IT ecosystem? So let's not waste any other time and let's get started straight away with the session, right? So guys, my very first question to all of you, what do you see as the point of commonality among all these websites? Anyone? So you have LinkedIn, you have Netflix, you have BBC, you have Twitter, you have Facebook. What do you see as a point of commonality? Okay, others says social media. What else, guys? What else do you see over here? Okay, so let me share now what exactly from a technical perspective is a point of commonality over here. Well, all of these platforms that you see are built using React. Well, what exactly is React? We are very shortly going to talk about it. But all the social media platforms, the popular ones like Facebook or LinkedIn, whether you talk about OTT platforms like Netflix, whether you talk about another social media platform like Twitter, all of these are somewhere or the other talking about React. They have their core front end implementations done using React. So React, if I talk about it in a very short-term perspective, is a front-end library which is built on top of JavaScript, and it is one of the most widely used libraries with the help of which you can prepare the front end of any application. So guys, most of you must have accessed Netflix, right? How beautifully the transitions run over there as soon as you are there on the netflix.com once you've logged in. How exactly we have some kind of a movies snippet kind of running on the top. Then we have so many suggestions and it looks pretty smooth as a UI, right? Same goes for when you use any kind of these social media platforms like Twitter or a Facebook or a LinkedIn, right? I mean, you won't find any kind of discrepancies in their design systems when we kind of use these kind of leading platforms, right? So how do we build those kind of efficient, widely used and some of the most powerful kind of web applications? Well, React is going to help us do that. I'm able to see all the questions of you guys on the chat. My only request will be to take a note of them somewhere else. And towards the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A, guys. So we will be answering all your technical doubts and the other doubts as well towards the Q&A session. All right. So keep on noting them down somewhere. I will definitely answer all of the doubts that you guys have. All right. So all of these kind of leading platforms have been built using React. Okay. Right. So we are now going to move towards the actual agenda of this session. Well, we are going to talk about what is a framework in general. We are going to talk about why React is one of the most preferred library for building the front end. What are the other options we have, by the way? And what's stopping us from landing a front end job in a good top tech company? The technical skills that we actually require for becoming a front end developer, planning the transition. Let's say you're a part of a non-IT background currently, or maybe you're just working into some other tech stack while being a part of the IT. How do you plan that career transition? How do you plan that technical transition over here, right? We'll also be talking about how do we prepare efficiently for all of these techs and how do we apply efficiently on them as well. Because some of you must have an idea about it that what happens is we keep on sending the resumes at a lot of places, but we don't hear back from them, right? How do we just kind of tackle that efficiently? That is also something we would be talking about, right? Now, how exactly Cryo can help you do all of that stuff? That is also one thing we are going to cover. So guys, let's get started with the actual part of it. So guys, what do you think our website's made of? Anybody over the chat, please? What do you believe are the fundamental building blocks of a website? If some of you have built any kind of basic web pages or you just have an idea, what are the things which are required behind a website to be prepared and published over internet? The three fundamental building blocks of website building are going to be known as HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Well, with the combination of these three, you can prepare some dynamically functional websites. No two doubts about it. These are the three functional. building elements. So guys, whenever you're going to get started with your preparation of the front end developer, right, what you have to be very much solidified at the very first place is going to be these three fundamental building blocks, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so your preparations start with a core understanding of these three fundamental blocks. Okay, so that is exactly what our website's made of at the very core of its own, right? Okay, now guys, take a look at this particular animation in front of you. Take a look at the very first file, which is just the HTML. Take a look at the second, it's just a better. Third is way better. Fourth is just pretty much having all the functionality. So what do we understand by this particular animation over here? Let me talk about it. See guys, I will be relating the example of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with a real world analogy. So guys, what essentially is HTML for a website? Well, HTML gives us the structure of what are the core elements which are going to be present onto a particular web page, right? So if you see this particular first image, which was just right over here, right? You could see all the input boxes, the text, the header, everything is already present there, right? But only pure text and input boxes, nothing else, right? There is no styling, nothing else. So when you're constructing a new house, what's the very first step that we do? We first prepare the structure. We cannot obviously start painting any kind of hypothetical walls, right? You need to have the walls at the first place. You need to have the structure at the first place, right? So we prepare the structure of the website first, for which HTML is going to be responsible. So we add all the buttons, inputs, logos, images, everything is going to be a part of your HTML, right? What is the second step we do after the structure is completely built? Well, you try to think of the interiors of the house, the exteriors of the house, right? What kind of paint colors you're going to put, what kind of textures, wallpapers, tiles, whatever you want to have, right? Whatever are those going to be interior or exterior styling perspective, well, that is the second step that you perform, right? That's what we do in CSS as well. So for styling this particular web page, you can see the third image over here. Well, how exactly the logo should look like, what should be the spacing between the text, how big your input size should be, how big your login button should be, how big your create new account should be, right? I mean, all sorts of styling. The sizes of the button, the font sizes, how exactly a card should look like, what should be its border radius, all of those kind of stylings are going to be a part of CSS. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. So all the stylings that you want to put for a single web page, you are going to get it added to CSS, right? Then finally comes the third aspect. So guys, once you're done with the structure of your newly constructed home, you're done with the interiors as well. I just have one question to all of you guys. Is this home going to be functional if you have not installed any electricity system in your home, if you have not installed any LPG system in your home, if you have not done any kind of sanitary fittings in your home? Is this kind of a home functional ever, guys? Can you answer me on the chat? So even though it is a new home, but is this home functional? Is this home livable, guys? What do you think? It's not, right? Because if you cannot utilize electricity at your home, most of your functionalities won't be happening, correct? So JavaScript, which is the third building block of web development, that comes into the picture now. So all your functionalities, all your dynamic applications are something which is going to be performed with the help of JavaScript. Let me give you some examples. So let's say you're trying to prepare this Facebook's login page, right? On click of login, what exactly should happen? How should the web page react? Whether we want to send some kind of a request to the server, or we just want to be redirected to some other page, right? So let's say if your username and password is correct, on click of login, you want to go to your newsfeed page. So how exactly that redirection is going to happen? How exactly the browser is going to understand that, yes, you have clicked on something? See, from a mouse click, you know that you have clicked a particular button, right? We understand that we have clicked the button, but how exactly browser interprets that? How browser will identify that, yes, you have done a click activity or a click event? So for tracking all of these kind of events or performing some kind of activities on your web page, JavaScript is going to be responsible for that. So if we wrap up these three fundamental building blocks, you can say it like this. HTML is the structure of the page. CSS is the styling or the interiors of the page. JavaScript is the functionality of the page. So are these three statements super clear to everybody? First of all, yes or no? Everybody on the chat, please. Are we clear with these three statements? Awesome. That's great, guys. So that's what you can easily just see over here as well. Right. Let's move on to a few more things as well. Right. So as you see, HTML is the structure, CSS is the beautician, JS is a brain. Right. Awesome. Cool. Now, what is a framework exactly? Let's talk about what is a framework in general, what is a library in general. Let's try to define these kind of terminologies, right? We understood that what are the three fundamental building blocks, your very first step to learn web development, website building, and all of that stuff. Now, let's move to the very next step. What is a framework? What's a library? What is React? And all of that stuff, right? So, what essentially is a framework? No worries. Let me start explaining this. Well, framework as a word in general simply refers to a rules and guidelines. Okay. Let's say you have a set of rules and guidelines to be followed, then that's what we can just sum up in a word known as framework, right? Framework will be nothing but a set of rules or guidelines which a particular web application has to follow. So when you as a developer are going to be building a website using a framework, there are certain rules and guidelines of that specific framework that you have to follow. That is essentially what is going to be framework in this context, right? So you can just relate to this keyword framework from a real world analogy that, see, you have two options, right? When you're going to prepare dosa at your own home, one option is that you start everything from scratch, right? You prepare all the things, all the from the raw materials that you have kind of purchased, and then you're trying to do the whole process. Or the second option is that you can already have the idli and dosa batter already from the market, and you just have to possibly start preparing your dosas from this batter itself, right? What is the advantage of using this batter? That, okay, you were able to save some kind of time, it already had most of the things prepared, and on top of that you were able to just quickly prepare your dosas, right? Framework is something absolutely similar, my friends. A lot of pre-work, or let's say a lot of predefined things, will already be a part of the framework, so that you don't have to set up everything from scratch, right? You don't have to set up everything from scratch. So whenever we click on that login button of the any kind of a Facebook login page or any other social media page, right? At most of the times, guys, you will be able to see that the whole tab itself does not get refreshed. Only the screen which is present inside that tab gets refreshed. Whenever you get time after this particular session, try to explore this part. Why exactly this happens? It is because of some of the functionalities offered by the frameworks. What's going to happen is that you already have things prepared, which is required as a pre-work to build any kind of website. And on top of that, you're going to build your components like a logo or something else. And on click of that, which page you should redirect to. So the pre-work of that is already going to be available in some of the frameworks and libraries, and that's how we can relate it to, right? So framework in general is just equivalent to having a dosa batter, right? So that you already have a few things prepared, and on top of that, you're now going to keep on building your website structure. Is that also clear to everybody? Yes or no? I hope so. Are we good with it? Awesome. Right. So what is the very next step that we need to take? Okay, so what are some of the advantages of frameworks that we have? Well, it is pretty much already understood, right? That it makes our work easier. The code written by other developers are made available to you. So I'll give you a proper example of the same. Guys, let us say that now you're trying to make a new e-commerce website just like a flipkart.com or an amazon.com, right? And you will almost have a similar structure. Like on the top, you'll have a header, then you'll have a slider which shows your best-selling products, then you have your top categories, and so on and so on, right? Now, my point is that general header in general is used by most of the websites. Sliders in general is used by most of the e-commerce website. So what if I tell you that I can already give you predefined headers, predefined sliders, predefined cards? You just have to take them as it is and customize according to your design needs, right? So code written by other popular developers already are going to be available in these kind of frameworks. So you don't have to code the entire slider from scratch. That is way too much of work, right? When we already have something customizable already prepared, it's the best to utilize them and make the customizations on top of that. So these kind of advantages makes the frameworks really, really powerful, right? Now the front end frameworks are always built on top of JavaScript. Okay. Most of the front end frameworks, my friends, that you're going to see are going to be built on top of JavaScript. Now, what's the reason of that? Let's talk about it logically. So guys, what happens is that the browsers that you run in today's world, right? Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Opera browser, in any type of browser that you try to use, right? Over there, what happens is that most of their engines are built on top of JavaScript. So browsers in general do not understand anything other than JavaScript. Okay, browsers do not understand anything other than JavaScript. So that is the reason any kind of framework or a library that we are going to use for preparing our websites, we have to ensure that it is built on top of JavaScript itself. So all these things that I'm talking about today, which is React or a framework like Angular, all of these kind of things are always built on top of JavaScript itself. Okay. So remember this one suggestion from me, guys, as a good takeaway for you guys from today's session would be, guys, before you jump on to learn any kind of frameworks or libraries, it is super important for you guys to have a mastery on JavaScript. Okay. If you are very, very strong in JavaScript, learning new frameworks and new libraries is going to be very, very easy for you guys. I'm talking about it from my personal experience. That is the reason. JavaScript is the place where you should be investing most of your time while you get started with your web development, right? So just always ensure that. If you have mastery on JavaScript, everything ahead becomes a bit more easier, right? Then it becomes easy for you to decide whether you want to go ahead for a front end or a back end. You won't see these two as big rocks in front of you. Okay. You will already have a knowledge of what essentially is a front end, what essentially is a back end, and you won't be looking them as, okay, back end is too difficult or a front end is too difficult. Not like that. You will be able to make a clear picture out of what exactly these two have as their own responsibilities, right? Cool. So for using any kind of front end frameworks, as I've told you, we need to have the knowledge of the fundamental building blocks, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So HTML and CSS are going to be super easy. JavaScript is again very easy, guys, but you just have to invest more amount of time in using it. Right. Some of the commonly used front-end frameworks. As I just told you guys, React, which is what you're going to focus on today, we have more options as well. We have an Angular.js, we have a Vue.js, we have a Gatsby.js, we have a Next.js. There are tons of them available in today's world. Okay. React is just one of the very widely used one. In corporate professionals, you will also be able to see a wide usage of Angular and Vue as well. I have utilized mostly all three of them, so I'll be sharing my personal experience on top of it towards the end of the session as well. All right. So let's move ahead. Now, why is React the most popular library or the most preferred library? See, before I jump onto this topic, I would just like to make a bit of clarification in the keywords framework and library. Guys, we do not call React as a framework. We simply call it as a library. Why exactly is that? See, as I told you, that frameworks is a fixed set of rules and guidelines that we have to follow in order to build the different components of our website. Whereas when we talk about a library, it is a bit more flexible. You can set up your own rules for the components. You can have flexibility in the folder structures. You can, just design the whole folder structure of the entire project on your own. You have the flexibility available in a library. Okay. So frameworks will have everything fixed. They are kind of more strict. You have to follow all the procedures and guidelines. React as a library is more flexible. You can also decide your own kind of rules in order to build it, right? So that is, again, I just gave you one of the answers already, right? That React is that is the reason that React is again one of the most preferred ones, right? Because it offers you flexibility. And for developers, the more customizations are available, the more flexibility is available, the better that particular tech stack becomes, right? So React is definitely, that is the reason, the one of the most preferred library that we can talk about, right? Cool. Take a look at this popularity as well. Yeah. So guys, as I mentioned, all your questions will be answered towards the end of the session. So don't worry about that. Okay. Let's talk about the popularity and salary. This is a study which was conducted by, you can see this Dev Jobs Scanner, right? So you can see that number of jobs by front-end framework. This is a study till 2023 year. For React, just take a look at the number. For Angular, just take a look at the number. Then for Vue and for others as well. So even React at this moment is widely ahead than Angular. right? You can clearly see that there's a wide margin even in the first and the second position. And of course, after second position, it's way too low, correct? But React, from a number of jobs perspective, is definitely proving the fact that it is one of the most widely used front end library, correct? So that is what we have to understand here. Now, what are some of the top paid front-end frameworks in 2023? This is a study again done in US only. So you can clearly see again React wins there, right? An average salary of $116,000. Don't open up your calculators, guys. I mean, it's a good, decent, big number, right? It is a very, very good number if you talk about it from that perspective, right? So React pays you well. React is a very widely used library that clearly gives us a picture that, okay, if I have to plan a long term career, I can definitely move into the web development with React, correct? I mean, that looks like a safe option. Of course, see, the world of IT is moving rapidly. Okay, talk about newer things like Next.js and everything. They are also kind of using React within it. Okay, so that is a separate whole new picture that you will be looking at once you become a proper developer. But getting started to learn the web development on its fullest with React definitely looks like a safe option, right? So that is one thing again, which gives us one more reason to learn React for the same, right? Okay. Now the top reasons why companies use React as well. I mean, guys, think about all these billion-dollar companies, right? What must be their reason to use React? First thing, it offers modularity. That is a super important thing, guys, because all these applications that you see for social media. I mean, guys, just imagine. Let me give you one practical example of the same. Let's talk about Instagram. Okay, now, Instagram must be having what, almost billions of people on its platform by now. And all these billions of people are making n number of posts as well. So, guys, what do you think? As soon as we click on that post button on the Instagram app, is some random developer in Instagram organization is sitting and making an HTML page for that and then posting it to the newsfeed? Is that practically ever possible, guys? Or you're making some kind of a post on LinkedIn. So some engineer in LinkedIn's office must be sitting and making an HTML page for that. Do you really think so that is ever possible? Not possible, right? There are billions of things getting posted on the social media every single second. So that's not practically possible, right? So how exactly these kind of things must be getting generated? When you click on post, how exactly it must be getting added to the post for all the people who are following you? What exactly must be happening? Every single person who is opening that particular website over there, your post appears if they are following you. So is it like all those 400 followers of yours are having different copy of an HTML page? No, that doesn't happen. All of these things are dynamically generated. Okay, so modularity becomes a very important part over there. Better performance. So your overall performance of an application matters a lot. If some of you have heard about terminologies like SEO, search engine optimization, you will realize that the performance of a website is a super important indicator while ranking your websites in a search engine, right? So performance is something that most of the leading organizations will be looking on for a web application. Okay, so React offers better performance as well. So initial page loading times, subsequent loading times, all of those kind of things are very, very good in React. Let's talk about the modularity perspective from a LinkedIn example. So guys, take a look at these particular two images. Now over here, there's a person, Rashmi Gowda, who has made a post. Here, Nabhan is a person who has made a post. What kind of similarities that you can see over there? Well, I can see that the profile picture is having the same design, the circular kind of a thing, which will have the image. Right after that, the same amount of gappings, and then we have the person's name. Right below that, the position of that particular person, which they have entered in their respective profiles. And right after that, the post starts. Not just that. Even after that, we have this particular logo over here, right? Then we have a like, comment, repost, exactly the same set of options here as well. So you can see a lot of commonalities over there. So the good thing that React offers is that you don't have to design the same thing again and again for different kind of sections of your website. No, you can have a single generic component which can be reused at any of the places that you want to have them. So I will not be keep on preparing the same code for this Rashmi Gowda's post as well as Nabhan's post. I don't need to do that. I will have a single generic component which will support all these buttons like, comment, repost, and send. And wherever I need that, I will simply just use it. So I don't have to copy paste my codes again and again. So modularity, my friends, becomes a very important thing. Is everybody clear with this first point? Yes or no? On the chat, please. Are we clear? Awesome. Great. Cool. What else is there, guys? Take a look at all of these things. Wherever the person is liking a particular post, we have kind of same components, right? Better performance. Take a look at some of these interesting stats, guys. So, guys, this is such a great and interesting, stat from Amazon that take a look. That according to Amazon, even if they have 100 milliseconds of latency in their page loads, that is equivalent to 1% of viewer sales. And I mean, guys, just relate this to you as a customer, right? We are not patient at all, right? Let's say if we want to order something and we are looking out for a product, we look out for a website which is of course selling it the cheapest or the lowest rate. But just imagine, guys, you're looking out for a product, you click on that Amazon's link and it's not loading up for a good amount of time. What you will do, you'll just click back and go to some other website, right? We are not going to be patient for waiting for a lot of time for them, right? So this is a study done by them which tells us that even just a minimal latency like 100 milliseconds means them 1% of a fewer sales. And just consider Amazon to be $1 billion of company. What exactly means to them when it is 1% fewer sales? It is possibly several $100 million, right? So that is something we should definitely consider. So that is a great responsibility of Amazon developers to possibly have the best of performance, right? Same goes for Google. Take a look. A latency which is as minimal as 400 milliseconds. Guys, just imagine even less than half a second means 0.21% fewer searches for them. So can you see that the companies which have reached out to billions of people around the world, even latencies which are as minimal as this causes this much of loss to these kind of companies. So performance becomes a super important thing and React offers us in the best of the ways, right? According to Mobify, a latency of zero point 0.5 seconds in the homepage loading simply means that this much is going to be their loss, or they have just shown it in the opposite way. So if they can reduce the loading time by zero point 0.5 seconds, this is the annual revenue that they're going to be having in profits. I mean, guys, again, just have calculators in your mind, right? Just this much of time can cause these many profits and losses to companies, which is a great super important fact for us, and it tells us the importance of performance of a web application, right? Okay. So what is now exactly stopping us from getting those kind of job offers? So guys, what is stopping us from getting those 3 or 4 job offers in the next 6 to 9 months? Think about it. What exactly is it? Well, guys, all we just need to do is taking charge of our career. We need to make a clear plan. We need to have a clear roadmap of where exactly we want to go ahead. And if front end development looks like a great option to you, you just have to take charge of your career and prepare it in the most efficient manner, right? So, what are some of the common challenges that we face while we are trying to get a job when we're possibly graduating out of a college or you're trying to look for a transition to an IT background? What are some of the challenges that most of the people faced? So, not getting shortlisted becomes one of them. So, you're kind of sending in your resumes at most of the places, but you're not hearing back from them. The college tier becomes an issue. Let's say IIT type of colleges and NIT type of colleges, then third tier type of colleges, that becomes an issue. Fear of coding, this is one thing which definitely happens with a lot of beginners, right? That everything theoretically looks pretty much clear, but as soon as we have to get started with writing the code, we face some kind of a fear. Well, guys, this is something which happens with most of the beginners, right? And the only solution to that is having some kind of consistency. You have to sit regularly, invest that much amount of time, and then only you'll be able to remove that fear. Okay. It is only a initial fear that we have. Once we are comfortable with it, definitely everything goes away. I mean, guys, I'm just trying to explain something which happens in most aspects of life, right? When you're going to learn swimming, you'll definitely be a bit of fearful with the water, right? But as soon as you do it for 7 consistent days, you feel a bit better while entering the water, correct? Then talking about not having the practical experience. So Again, guys, what happens is, let's say you are a part of a college fourth year at the moment. Let's say you're doing some kind of engineering. As soon as you're going to come out, the relevant experience that you only have is going to be possibly an internship or some kind of freelancing that you might have done. So practical experience again becomes a problem. Bad grades at times can be a problem for some of the organizations if they look upon them. Gap, right? Gap, a lot of organizations can ask you that, okay, why was there a gap in this particular year? What were you trying to prepare about, right? What if your current role is a non-IT one, is a non-development one? So again, that comes out as a question that you're not having a relevant development experience, right? Sometimes not confident about it, right? So let's say you're going to an interview but you're not answering the questions confidently, again becomes a negative for an HR, right? Not able to crack coding rounds. Now, this is something that a lot of users face in the beginning, right? So what happens is that you're sitting for a technical interview. The questions that they are going to ask is something, at times what happens is we kind of get blacked out by it, or we are not able to crack that particular logic, and that becomes the core reason that we are not able to crack that particular job. System design rounds. This is usually for the experienced folks. On beginners level, it's not pretty much asked, but yeah, system design also becomes one of them. So I will just give you one example of the same. So if I'm going to sit for a particular interview as a senior software engineer, it will be expected out of me that I have a proper solid knowledge of system design as well. So possibly someone can ask me that, this year's IPL was hosted on Geo Cinema. The finals of the IPL was having almost what, 10 or 15 crores of viewership. So how efficiently Geo Cinema's servers were able to handle them? What kind of an architecture that they might have that they were able to support these many viewerships? What must have been their costing of, broadcasting to these many people, and how we can just minimize that, how we can, make it more efficient, those kind of things. Weak resume again becomes one of the reasons, right? So guys, what happens is when we are graduating out of a college, it is very important that we have done some relevant activities, because otherwise we don't have a lot of things to be put on a resume, right? So guys, make your resume as strong as you can, because that's the very first step of applying, right? Weak resume should never be a point for us, correct? Lacking skills, of course, the very core fundamental part, right? I mean, for the job we are applying, if we are not having the right skill sets, of course there is a gap over there, right? So first of all, we should be super sure of whatever we have learned relates to the job we are applying to, correct? And then lack of a clear plan and guidance, guys. At times what starts happening is that, an X person was able to crack that particular job, now I'll start learning Java. A Y person was able to crack a job in Salesforce, now I'll start learning Salesforce, right? An X person was able to make a job in AWS, I will now start learning cloud computing, right? What happens is, at times we try to rush into a whole lot of things all together, right? Guys, my personal opinion on this kind of a thing is that, there is nothing bad in moving to every single thing, but at the right time we have to do it. If you believe that as a beginner, 2 hours you learn machine learning, 2 hours you learn data science, 2 hours you learn web development, 2 hours you learn something else, it is way too much for our mind. Okay, we have to have a clear plan and guidance, which is something which is a super important thing. And yes, I read your message, Sahil. See, the point over here is that it is super important to not compare our journey with any other person. We can take inspirations, we can take ideas, we can consult the people that are around us, right? But our journey is going to be definitely unique than the other person's, right? There can, Sahil, I have also have those kind of experiences where I was super duper prepared, okay, for an XYZ company, okay. My interview went great, okay. Then there was my friend who was lesser prepared, was low on confidence, and guess what was the result? I was rejected, the other person was hired. So there will be things at times which will not be under your control, okay. And this is something which happens with almost everyone, okay. But it should not matter at a long term perspective. What we need to identify, Sahil and everybody else, is what is the clear plan and what is the focus for us in upcoming time, what we want to have as an upgrade on our career, okay. So that's what eventually matters. So, in short, resume is not getting shortlisted, not able to crack the companies with the tech interviews or the coding rounds or the system design rounds. These kind of sums up most of the possibilities of why we are not getting shortlisted at any of those places, right? So, technical skills that you want, right? The technical skills that you must know for cracking these kind of technical interviews. Let's talk about them as well now. Just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, as I told you guys, foundational skills, the fundamental skills, super duper important. You need to have a solid understanding of HTML, CSS. We have just noted down some specific concepts of those as well. If you have a strong command on CSS, Flexbox, and grids, you have a strong knowledge on how do we utilize the Chrome developer tools, you have a good knowledge on how do we make responsive designs from scratch, you're good to go on your HTML and CSS foundations. What's the second step? Strong JavaScript foundation. You can clearly notice we have kept HTML and CSS together, but JavaScript separately. Why is that? Because I told you that JavaScript is something where you have to invest a good amount of time. You should master the DOM manipulations, event handlings, how do we handle API calls, the asynchronous things, how we have different kind of browser storages like local storage, session storage, how does the deployment kind of things happen? All of these things we should have a very, very clear idea on, right? And then comes what? Then comes good React foundation. Well, as soon as you've covered HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you're good to get started with React. So, what are the functional hooks in React? How do we set up different routes? What are some of the controlled components? How do we conditionally render the things? And what are some of the component libraries available? So, this should be a good roadmap for you guys to get started with preparing technical, right? For your technical rounds, if you're going to sit for an entry level React based job, I think this looks like a great roadmap for that. Okay. So have a solid understanding of your foundations and then move towards React foundations. Right. Okay. So now planning your career transitions in terms of opportunities, guys. So how do you find those open roles at the top tech companies? This sounds too much of a work, but trust me, it works out in a long term. Okay. So, first of all, research, guys. Research is a super important thing over here. Research what companies you want to be a part of. Okay. Research all those top tech companies and go to their respective careers pages. Keep a track of all of them. Like a lot of these tech companies, what they do is they also offer you to subscribe to newsletters. Okay. So every single time they're posting a new job in the software development section or the software engineering section, you'll get a mail directly. So keep a track of all your email newsletters, keep a track of all these career websites, visit them regularly. Because most of the times, guys, what happens is not only you, but lakhs of people are kind of following the same kind of career pages, right? So as soon as they've posted a particular job, you can say that within a few hours they'll have almost 100 or 200,000 applications. I mean, just imagine for the HRs of those companies that they have to filter out lakhs of applications. So it is highly certain that they will not even be looking at every single profile manually, right? We all understand those kind of things. So it is super important for us to be very, very super active in following these careers pages. As soon as you see them, directly apply them, reach out to their respective HRs on LinkedIn, try to connect with them, and that way you will be able to kind of figure out a few bit of things on your own as well. Okay. So keep researching about the careers pages of all the top tech companies. Right. Now, what do they exactly look for? Right. So, guys, right now with us what happens is we tend to have a feeling that there are no jobs around, right? There's a recession going on, there is kind of no active jobs at the moment, right? And trust me, this is how the hiring managers view looks like. They are always looking out and they are having a doubt, are there any skill developers available, right? What exactly happens is that most of the times when we feel that there is some kind of a recession or the jobs are not coming up as much as they used to be, most of the times what happen is there comes down as a gap. Okay. The skills that those companies are expecting to be, they are most certainly not able to find out the right skill set in the candidates. Yes, that's how a hiring manager's view looks like. Correct. So what top companies are looking for is something like this. This is just a summary kind of a thing for that. So guys, take a look. Meta is simply looking for architecting efficient and reusable front-end systems. So if you have a core good knowledge on all the things that we just talked about in the roadmap, which is React, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? Now, see, I totally understand. You all must be thinking that, sir, come on. Are you sure that all these companies look out for just this much? Of course not. I'm not saying that these are only the pure things which they are looking out for. They'll have a lot of good design rounds, complex coding rounds, and everything. But what I'm talking about is when you're going to land a role which relates to the front end developer, these are the core functionalities that they will be testing you on. Let me tell you one more personal experience of mine. When I learned all of these things, I believe that okay, I'm pretty much good to go, and I should be able to crack almost all of the things that are going to be asked in these fields, right? And then I sat for this one of the companies, okay, and they definitely broke my belief that I knew JavaScript completely. Okay. So, guys, when I say that you have to invest a good amount of time in JavaScript, I definitely realized it from that failure interview itself because they asked me some questions or some terminologies which I frankly never had heard of. JavaScript is that much vast. Okay. They, kind of asked me some of the questions which I had never even thought of. Okay. So what I'm just trying to tell you all is that, this is just a summarified version of all of these things. But if you just look at all of these bullet points, yeah, you will be able to see HTML, CSS, React, TypeScript, and all of that. But these are having a lot of depth in them, my friends. You need to have a very, very solid understanding of all of them. Okay. So, yeah, definitely all of the top tech companies are looking for these kind of things as well. Right. Now, stepping into their shoes, stepping into a hiring manager's world. Guys, try to answer this. Which resume out of these would you like to select? Take a look at all these CV. Answer me on the chat. Which one would you like to go ahead for? If you were a hiring manager, which resume would you shortlist? Anyone, guys? Answer me on the chat. Rishikesh says three. Okay, all of the people, almost everyone says three. All right. Okay. Guys, what are the reasons for that? What are the reasons for that? Why do you think that CV3 looks the best? More knowledge. Okay. And how do you identify more knowledge, Kush? So, yes, absolutely correct, guys. What exactly makes the third resume stand out is the structured. The guys, what is the most best thing about the CV3 is the way they have represented their work, right? Gives a lot of numeric stats as well. Okay. So if you carefully see, leading to an increased revenue by $1 million or whatever it is, right? So whatever work you have done, whatever contributions you have done, what was the impact of that? This resume is also covering those kind of things, right? And all those experiences and the skills are education is very, very well structured. So for me or you as a hiring manager, this resume definitely stands out for me. So whenever you are preparing your own individual resume as well, think from their shoes that if they have so many number of thousands of applications, what will make my resume stand apart? What will I put in that particular resume that makes it shortlisted? Of course, they will have a lot of automated tools. They have these ATS kind of softwares which kind of filters out a lot of resume on its own depending on what intelligence logic they have put to it, right? So we have to very actively track the job descriptions that they put. Let's say you found a relevant job on Apple's portal or Apple's career page, right? Go through the entire job description and accordingly insert keywords into your resume that kind of relates to what is their kind of job expectations, right? So if there your resume gets shortlisted, it's a great chance that we're going to have further as well, right? So preparing the finest of resumes is definitely one skill that we want to have. Correct. So now my personal interviewing experience as well. So guys, fortunately, I've not been just a part of interviews as a candidate. I also conduct a few interviews on my own for my organization, right? So I'll just tell you my personal interviewing experience as well, as in what I look out in a particular candidate when I am going to be interviewing them, right? So let me talk about it from an beginner's level perspective. First of all, when I'm going to be hiring for a fresher, right? Who is just graduating out of a college, right? So my expectation at most of the time simply becomes that I have a simple one line formula that whatever you have in your resume, I will stick to that. Okay. I will not trouble you. I'll not be asking something outside of your resume, but trust me, I will test you very, very deeply in whatever you have written in your resume. And that's fair, right? So you need to be very much sure that, whatever you're putting on your resume, you have a solid understanding of that. Okay. So, for example, for a fresher, what we do is, see, it is definitely an understandable thing that I cannot be expecting a fresher to design a Netflix.com, right? It's not practically possible, right? Even some of the parts of Netflix.com, even I must not be having a knowledge. So how can I expect the fresher to be, kind of performing on that? So my point of, sharing this thought with you is that, let's say if the fresher tells me that, I right now don't have a very strong understanding of JavaScript, but I know Java, but I know this other XYZ programming language. So I'll simply tell this particular person that, okay, here's the coding problem. I don't have an issue with you if you're not going to do this in JavaScript. You can do in your comfortable programming language. Why will I do that? Why will I not stick to JavaScript? Because the very first thing that I want to test in that particular candidate is the logical coding ability. Guys, programming languages can change. The logic will remain the same, right? What I'm just trying to say is, if I have to test a particular candidate on their logical coding skills, I should not limit that particular person to code in a specific programming language. Yes, that should be the next round of that hiring process. If it's just the first round, I will be testing that person on the coding ability. Now, if the job role expects that person to be a master of JavaScript or having relevant experience in JavaScript, yes, the next round can focus on it, right? But not the very first round. So my personal interviewing experience, I'll tell you, I'll just summify in a great manner. Guys, you should have, let's say, beginners to intermediate level of coding ability. Okay, so if you're given possibly a data structures or an algorithms question, you should be able to crack it, maybe not having the most optimized approach, but still you should be able to crack out a solution for it and explain it on your own. Okay, that much of coding we should know, right? Now, right after that, my core focus will become on what is the expectation of the job. Now, let's say you want to be, the expectation of the job is to be you being a React developer. So I'll just be giving you certain scenarios that this is what I want to prepare. How would you like to define the component structure of it? Or I'll make you share your screen and code this particular basic structure first, right? So what I'm just trying to say is, whatever projects you have added into your resume, whatever skill set you have added in your resume, most of the interviewers, they will try to ask you questions on top of it only. And what is the second possibility? They will be asking you certain questions which aligns to their organization. Okay, these are the two things where the whole focus lies upon. Okay, so if you master somehow these two things, you are very much, probable to crack your interviews in a better way. Okay, so guys, and I would also like to maintain this third thing as well. Communication becomes definitely something important parameter at a lot of organizations as well. Okay, a lot of organizations will also kind of analyze you on your communicational skills and what kind of activities you have done in your college activities and all of that as well. So that, again, just some kind of extracurriculars, if you have it on your resume, definitely stands out for freshers at least, right? So that is also one good thing to have, right? Okay, now my interview experiences on some of the top companies as well. I told you guys, right? To be really honest with you guys, it is, I will be really happy to share all of my experiences, but that will take another couple of hours, right? I would just like to summify it for you guys in a very short manner. So guys, always remember this, that whatever organization we are working for today, or whatever position we are working on today, right, has come up after tons of rejections. Okay, so guys, it's not like I'm delivering a session by just having whatever limited knowledge I have. You have to remember that even if I'm delivering this particular session, I have equivalent number of rejections as well. Okay, so if somebody tells me that, sir, you teach JavaScript at Cryo, so you must be knowing 100 out of 100 in JavaScript, can I say that? Never. Okay, even if I have 10 more years of experience from today's date, I'll still not be able to say that I know 100 on 100 JavaScript. The reason for that is, things always keep on upgrading, my friends, right? So it's not like you are going to become such a master that you can crack 100 out of 100 companies. Trust me, guys, the ratio goes way bad. Okay, so when I cracked my very first job as a fresher, before that, yeah, this is something that I actually counted. I had a total of 32 rejections. 32, right? So I was not, in the initial of the interviews, I was not even able to answer the technical things. That certainly improved. Then something else was not working out for me. Maybe I was not able to solve some of the DSA questions. When that was also fixed, then communication was somewhere an issue. When that was also fixed, somewhere then finally came down a time that, okay, I was able to crack the very first job. Yeah, I'm not talking about the college placements and all of that, guys, but yeah, this is also something which happens. So all you have to remember is that you don't have to be fearful about rejections. You don't have to be demotivated by them. Rejections are something which happens with toppest of developers, guys. Whatever developers you follow currently on LinkedIn, whichever people you follow on, have a look at their experiences. It's not like they just directly, got shortlisted for an Amazon or an Uber or something and they just cracked it in the first go. That doesn't happen, guys. They have given n number of hours before their preparation, and they have faced equivalent number of rejections as well. Okay, so that is something that is a part and parcel of the process. And trust me, when I look upon it today, I think it was a fantastic experience of those rejections also, because as I told you, right, it was an incremental learning. I was able to identify what was missing at the first place. I fixed that. Second place also, third place also, and eventually, by these many rejections, the best positive thing that happens is you gain a lot of confidence and understanding that what is an overall level of expectation over the organizations, right? And one more thing, guys, you'll be reaching out to n number of people for jobs. You'll be just getting 10 or 15 replies back. That's completely okay. That's how things work, right? That is exactly how things work. So we don't have to be demotivated by it again. So guys, it's not like you as a fresher, the responses will be less. This is the same for experienced folks as well. Okay, so it is not something to get demotivated from. It is something to get more learnings from. So all you just have to do is remember this particular part. All right, so these are some of the experiences that I just wanted to share. Now, how do we quickly just prepare and apply on the same? Well, to get your resume shortlisted, you have to be putting some of the meaningful projects that demonstrates a relevant skill. I mean, guys, that's super obvious, right? If you're applying for a React.js position, you should have at least one self project on React, which is added into your resume, which is a part of your GitHub repository. Otherwise, how will the technical person see what kind of skills you have or what you have implemented on your own, right? So all the projects that you do as a part of your learning, always have them in your GitHub repositories and also add them to your resumes. Okay, it will be great if you can deploy them as well, but that is again something totally depends, right? The college plus the current company definitely matters a lot, right? I mean, how do you represent that in the best of the manners? That is something that you have to take care of. Finding and applying to the right companies, guys, right? Again, this becomes a super important thing, right? You have to research not just about a job position, you have to research about the company as well. You don't want to land into a company where the culture is not great, where the job security is not too much, where the pays are not that great, right? So you also have to invest some amount of time in finding out the right companies, right, where you want to stay on a long term perspective, right? Okay, now the interview process as well, the coding round, which will have the possibilities of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Of course, frameworks. For the technical rounds, you need to have your core front-end skills. What's missing over here is, of course, a bit of knowledge on the algorithms and data structures as well. A mini project, which is again from your self-learning. You should be having some kind of an app that demonstrates the same skill set in React. Correct. Okay. Then behavioral round. Again, this is equally important, guys. What happens is I have seen a lot of experiences where people were able to crack everything, all the difficult parts done, the technical parts and everything. They have cracked the complex DSA rounds and everything. What happened is they got rejected from the HR round. Yes, even that happens at times, guys. Right? What happens is that we were not able to possibly answer the things correctly in an HR round, which was the expectation of an HR. So these are also some things that we just should invest a little bit more time into, right? Cool. Now applying and the interviews part as well, right? So yeah, where do you exactly stand? Testing the waters with your new skills, doing it in the middle of preparation. This is equally important, guys. You have to be consistent in all of these places till you get the job. Okay, where do you stand currently? You have to keep on testing yourself with the new skill sets. This is a consistent practice that you need to follow. Correct, at every single regular phase, right? And all of these things you are already aware about, right? So all of these websites you should be regularly following, whether it's Cutshot, Angel.co, LinkedIn, Belong, all of these places. All right, cool. Right. So that sums up. You will need one foundational skill. I mean, all the foundational skills, which is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and at least one framework. That definitely makes your profile good for a beginner's front end developer. Right. So this is how the things look like. IT roles without the core dev work. This is how you can see the graph is a bit below. For dev roles with medium skill level, it directly becomes 3x of whatever was previously there. And guys, just take a look with dev roles with high skill level, how drastically it moves ahead, right? So you can just consider that how drastically your pay scales keep on increasing with more and more skill upgradations that you're going to do in the field of software development, right? So that should definitely be an exciting part and motivation for all of you guys. Right. Okay. Finally, guys, Cryo can help you learn all of these skills in the most efficient way. Right. So, guys, let me talk a bit about Cryo as well now. So, over here, you will be getting one of the most unique ways of your learning ecosystem, guys. You will be having a work like experiential learning platform for all your software engineering skills, whether you want to learn React, whether you want to learn backend, whether you want to learn system design. You have a very very solid understanding and a work like experiential training at Cryo. So what makes it stand apart, guys? I'll quickly just talk about it. So guys, what happens at Cryo is we follow an industry based curriculum. What do we mean by that? So, guys, when you're going to be a part of professional industries, you're going to work in regular sprints. Cryo offers you the same thing over here, right? You have monthly sprints where you have certain tasks to be completed, certain applications to be prepared, certain homeworks to be completed, you can say. And right in that, in parallel, you also have some live learning sessions, you have Q&A sessions. So what exactly happens is you have all the conventional things, and on top of that, you will be getting an industry like environment where you have to complete certain tasks, certain applications within that particular month itself. So you'll have a proper understanding of how solidified your pace should be to work upon things, how well you should be able to learn at all of those things, right? So we have a fellowship program in software development, which is a fully online course. It's a total of 9 months of duration where we have, kind of a lot of things to be taught to you guys. Okay. But what is the good thing about it? It comes with a placement guarantee as well, where we have given the dream jobs ranging between 6 to 15 LPA and super dream jobs, guys, starting 15 to 40 LPA as well. Okay. So for more info, you can always check the Cryos job guarantee details. It's a 9 month program. So that's what I said. We will have 9 different sprints. We will have monthly based curriculums, which we will have to simply finish upon, right? We will have all the real world projects which will give you a solid boost in your confidence as well, guys. So throughout these 9 months, you'll be making an e-commerce like Flipkart, you'll be making an OTT like Netflix, you'll be making a web application which looks similar to Make My Trip, you'll be making a music application which looks similar to Spotify. I mean, guys, just take a look at these quality of the projects. This will definitely give you a lot of industry exposure and how things must be happening on a bigger set of levels, right? So guys, take a look at some of our mentors. We have mentors from PayPal, CultFit, VMware, Swiggy, Amazon, Visa, and a lot more other popular companies as well, guys. Okay. So, all our mentors have been associated with Cryo from a very long time. I have been associated with Cryo from almost 2021. Trust me, guys, it is one of the most unique ways of learning at Cryo. Okay. There's just an interesting thing that I would like to share. I've not been a part of Cryo just as a mentor. I have also been a part of Cryo as a student when I was in college. I've also been a part of it as a teaching assistant and then as a mentor as well. So trust me, guys, I have a good understanding of how Cryo works, and it is definitely providing one of the most unique ways for your learning upgradations. Right. Okay. So, guys, some more stats quickly. We have guided thousands of aspirants by now, like you, to success. So we have 81% average hike for all the working professionals, 10 LPA of average CTC for the dream offers, 21 LPA of an average CTC for super dream offers. And yeah, I mean, guys, that's a super duper interesting stack, right? 1,000+ companies have hired cryo grads up till now, which is a super important stat, right? Okay, so all the cryo graduates at the moment work across all of these kind of companies. So whether you talk about the new unicorns, you talk about the super dream companies, established growing startups, or any kind of consulting organizations as well, you can see almost all the popular names over here, right? Definitely one of those companies where you definitely want to be a part of, right? I mean, guys, think about a Microsoft or a Salesforce and RCGM, right? Why not? Think about unicorns like Cred. I mean, guys, super interesting companies to be a part of at the moment, right? So yeah, we have all our alumni working across all these companies, right? Okay, so we have almost 2000 plus alumni placed in over 1000 plus companies at the moment, guys. So 95% have been placed within 9 months of graduation. 10 LPA, as we said, is the average dream job CTC. And we have already talked about all of these stuff. So, guys, visit the Cryos website. We have amazing set of success stories, and you can definitely have a read and decide for yourself.